availability. Yes, the mobile phone is available, but are the ecosystems available to transact digitally from your mobile phone? And the answer again is yes and no. So I would say it's an amber. The other two dimensions of applicability means, are there sufficient number of applications, apps, to make it interesting for a majority of our people to do their day-to-day business and retail conversion through the mobile phone? Again, I would say very poor. And affordability is high, but affinity also. Cultural alignment to doing business on your mobile phone is again pretty low. So these are the challenges that we have. And we have to address these challenges taking into account that there is a very distinct duality in the customer space in our markets. We have this incumbent top of the pyramid high-end consumer segment. Many of us probably who are here in this room today would probably fall into this little apex of the eyeball. That is people who have been influenced by global trends. They are basically global citizens. They are homogeneous and cosmopolitan. They watch dialogue TV or cable TV, and they listen to globally popular music, and they listen to global news channels and so on. The other more growing and rapidly expanding consumer base comes from the middle of the pyramid and the bottom of the pyramid consumer segments. These consumer segments are not homogeneous, they're heterogeneous, but they form a mass market. Now this duality also reflects in the readiness to digitalize consumption among these segments. So drawing a very simple parallel, I believe that that cosmopolitan group, we could say, uses electronic money quite comfortably. They would have credit cards, they would transact direct from their bank account, they would put their credit card on the internet with some hesitation, but they might do that. On the other end, you have what I would call paper money consumers who deal in cash and are very liquid, but they do not have the affinity or the comfort level to deal with electronic money. So this same duality is something that we need to use, not as a challenge or a threat to proliferate in the message of m-commerce, but as an opportunity. If you were to look at, again, where the mobile as a tool of information exchange, as a basic communication device, is very strong on all four dimensions, but is weak on many dimensions in terms of m-commerce. What are the key deficits? Relevant applications for the BOP and MOP. I'll come to why this is the case. High affinity customer access mediums are very hard to find, meaning that even if you have an e-commerce application, the customer access to that e-commerce application is not culturally tuned to bottom of the pyramid and middle of the pyramid markets. So what happens? We don't have a huge top of the pyramid market. We have that small apex of the eyeball. So if we don't address the customer access, the comfort level, the affinity of the larger part of the eyeball, then we are not going to have a viable m-commerce ecosystem or environment in our countries. Payment and fulfillment systems which would serve these markets. Contextual ecosystems for the middle of the pyramid and bottom of the pyramid. So for example, how do you convince a small shop owner, a retail shop owner, to transact with electronic money from mobile phone to mobile phone? Unless you have these ecosystems in place, you will not grow the large part of the eyeball. You will be trying to create viability for the application developers, the content providers, everyone in the m-commerce ecosystem with the tiny apex. That will not work. There is no scale, and unless there is scale, you will not have a business which has viability. And most importantly, I believe we have very weak linkages between the top of the pyramid and the bottom of the pyramid. This is supremely important because the rich people have to be there to buy from the poorer people. And that's how poorer people become more wealthier. If there's a divide between those who have money and those who have products, that ecosystem will not work. So whatever scheme we have in place for mobile commerce going forward, given that the mobile phone is in the hands of the top of the pyramid, middle of the pyramid, bottom of the pyramid, we need to establish a value chain which delivers equal levels of comfort, equal levels of trust from the top to the bottom. And then you will find that the economy and the entire population will get mobilized and start trading. Our South Asians have already started talking. They take their phone, they text each other, they talk to each other, they do deals through voice and text, and they've connected the bottom and the top and everyone in the country. But commerce has not got there. But I believe the mobile phone has the potential to do that. And this is where we really need to look at the fact that the economic pyramid, the socio-economic pyramid, has a very definitive structure. It goes from the urban to the suburban to the rural on one end, transactions on credit cards on one end to, say, mobile money at the other, and devices which are as user-friendly as tablets to the $10 phone on the other. Now, how do you make all these cultural differences, affordability differences, habit differences, and capability differences all merge into one commercial ecosystem? That's the challenge for our industry. And I believe that this challenge is something that we can surmount through refocusing on commercial applications, on small, medium, large, huge applications which can link the top of the pyramid and the bottom of the pyramid using the mobile phone in sometimes a very simple way to enable commerce to flow from top to bottom. Also, whatever instrument that we use, whether it's the mobile phone or the payment instrument behind it, we must remember that in South Asia, our markets are driven by sachets. Even in electronic transactions, we have to be the masters of being able to do very, very small transactions at very, very low cost. Because unless you can break up a product and its consumption to very small pieces, South Asians will not consume. Because all of us have a no-commitment psyche. We have a great affinity to cash. We do not like to pay too much in advance of consumption. So I pay today, I want to consume today. Likewise. So even when it comes to a payment instrument, it has to be an instrument which electronically enables the sacheting, if there is such a word, the sacheting of the transaction itself. So one of the key levers, I believe, which will drive this cycle in the South Asian markets would be mobile payments. Now, mobile payments, the various renditions of mobile payments are governed obviously by the regulatory environments, both the financial regulators and the telecom regulators in the various countries. So we've seen different regulatory environments emerging in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, and they have led the way in terms of progressive proportional regulation. What I mean by proportional is something to do with sacheting, which means that the banking regulator recognizes that the level of regulation required for a small transaction, a sachet, is significantly different, or should be significantly different, to the level of regulation to be applied to a large transaction.